This the last song that I wrote on this album because I had too many thoughts inside my mind for the outcome. I'm always overthinking shit that will never let go. So then I wrote it on the spot, let my words stay afloat. Yeah, you'll never catch me slipping, making beats up in the kitchen. All my love is.
Let's actually get into the real topic at hand. So, for those who aren't familiar with me, again, I am a rapper, I am a singer, I'm a songwriter, and that means I love music. I love hip hop. I love R&B, I love pop, I love soul. I do love a little bit of rock, a little bit of K-pop, not too much country. Sorry for all people who love country sorry for all the country fans, but I'm not big into country. That's just not what that's not my thing. Shout out to Beyonce and shout out to Dolly Parton. One of my, I think two of my favorite. Well, Beyonce's not a country artist, but you know what I mean. The Cowboy Carter album was crazy. So the biggest topic I actually want to talk about, we're actually going to switch into hip hop. And actually, let's clap that up. Actually, let's clap it up for hip hop. So the big, yep, that was not on purpose. That was an accident. Um, but yeah, I am a big Drake fan. I've been a Drake fan since 2010. Listened to majority of all of his projects, even the ones that people said that are trash. But in my opinion, I think they're pretty decent. Yeah. So it's basically Drake versus everybody at this point. So let me give a little bit of a rundown of what is going on. So basically, Metro Booming and Future dropped an album called "We Don't Trust You," and there's a song on there called "Like That" featuring the one of the most highly respected rappers in the music game, Kendrick Lamar, aka Ken. I forgot his little code name. I don't know. Anyway, Kendrick Lamar basically dissed J. Cole and Drake for basically quoting the big three on Drake's last album, For All the Dogs, on a song called First Person Shooter. And basically, to quote J. Cole, he basically said, "Is a K dot, is it Aubrey or me? We're the big league, we just started. Yeah, we the big three, we just started the league." That's basically the quote that basically blew everybody's minds because obviously, of course, if you're not familiar with the whole beef between Drake and Kendrick Lamar, basically Drake took Kendrick under his wing in 2012 Club Paradise tour. Kendrick Lamar dropped Control, which was basically a big basically a big fuck you to the hip hop game, and basically dissing every single rapper in the game, along with the biggest rapper in the world, which is Drake. And they've been basically sending subliminal shots for years. It's been almost a decade since they've been beefing. So, um, obviously, ever since then, things have been kind of like quiet with the two. Obviously, of course, Drake has been in a few beefs outside of Kendrick Lamar, aka Kanye West. What was the other? Pusha T. Sorry, my bad. Shout out to Pusha T. Pusha T, Kanye West, and pretty much everybody. Everybody basically is beefing with Drake at this point. So yeah, so after the Like That song came out and basically blew out of proportion, Drake basically was in a corner because not only Kendrick dissed Drake, Rick Ross, Future, and Metro Booming came in the picture. Rick Ross was one of the ones, honestly, in my opinion, Rick Ross was one of the ones that was surprising because obviously Drake and Rick Ross has had a basically this whole like classics. I mean, they've done endless collaborations together. Dice Pineapple, Lord Knows, uh Gold Roses, you know the records. So basically what happened is that Drake and basically half of those people and The Weeknd and Nav and well, I guess probably other people basically has an issue with Drake for many or in one way or the other. So basically uh J. Cole decided to basically clap back at Kendrick Lamar with a mixtape that he dropped called Might Delete Later, which he's been teasing for the past 2 months. And there's a song on the last there's a song on the project that's called 7 Minute Drill, which basically was a diss track towards Kendrick, where he basically said that he has classics that were great and he had basically albums that were mid. Basically, he's talking about Kendrick's last album, which is Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers, which, in my opinion, and don't shoot me at the foot for this, is probably Kendrick's weakest album. Now, don't get me wrong. I love Section 80. I love Damn. I love To Pimp a Butterfly. I think To Pimp a Butterfly is probably my favorite Kendrick Lamar album out of every album that he's dropped. But Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers wasn't it. It was, there were some good tracks on there, but overall, to me, it wasn't album of the year, even though it did win a Grammy, which I don't know. Maybe I'm just not a big Kendrick Lamar fan. Okay, I love Kendrick. I do think Kendrick is a really skilled rapper, but in my opinion, I think Mr. Brown the Big Steppers was probably just one of those albums where it was just like, all right, it was on Billboard for a week or two, and then it just left because we had other projects that came out that was, in my opinion, a way better than that album. Anyway, back to the topic at hand. So J. Cole basically dissed Kendrick on 7 Minute Drill. 3 days after the project came out, he goes to Dreamville Fest and basically apologizes for dissing Kendrick and basically bows out of the fight. Now, as a person, I understand that J. Cole was probably pressured to respond to Kendrick because of that statement that Kendrick said in the song that was released before. Personally, I think J. Cole should have not said anything. I think J. Cole should have just stepped to the side and because I felt like it was mostly a dig at Drake than J. Cole and Drake. I feel like it was a diss at Drake considering the history between the two. So I think that J. Cole should have not said anything. But his back was against the wall. So as a man, I kind of understand. I respect his response. I respect that, his apology and all that. But as a rapper, and I don't like to be competitive when it comes to my raps, but at the end of the day, this is hip hop. So that's kind of where I was on the fence with it. And don't get me wrong, the 7 Minute Drill was it. I don't know. I think obviously it's not on, and side note, it's actually not on streaming platforms anymore. So basically, J. Cole removed it within a week after his apology. So J. Cole apologized, and then basically everything was quiet until Drake decided, and I know a lot of people say that it got leaked. I'm gonna say this: Drake was the person that leaked it, because DJ Academics is basically like a music curator. He basically is like one of those guys that basically has the inside scoop when it comes to other rappers and other artists, and basically has the inside scoop of what projects they're releasing and all that. So he got so it was a diss track called Drop and Give Me 50. And basically it's a play on of 50 Cent, because 50 Cent I believe he beefed with Rick Ross in the past, like years ago. Hence why Rick Ross is a part of this whole beef, because not only that Drake dissed not just Kendrick, he dissed Future, he dissed Metro Booming, which I was actually just talking to someone about this today, actually. Like, there was a line in the diss track where Drake said, "Metro, shut your hoe ass up and make some drums." That line easily is probably going to be the most memorable line that I will keep in me for years to come, because obviously Drake felt pressured. I'm not going to lie. And I'm not just saying this as a fan. I feel like Drake was at a point where he was at a place where he felt like he was obviously he's the biggest artist in the world. Obviously, we're not even gonna say biggest rapper. We're just gonna say artist because that man pretty much does everything, despite him being a culture vulture. But we're not gonna get into that anyway. Um, again, I still love you, Drake, but come on, you gotta get called out for this shit. And yeah, so basically, shit, I lost my train of thought. Give me 1 second. Oh yeah. So Drake basically dissed everybody. Not only a few minutes later, Rick Ross responded, and I know I'm giving this long explanation, but I wanted to kind of give context to the whole beef between Drake and everyone who's beefing with him. So Drake did so Rick Ross dropped a diss track seconds after Drake leaked his track, and it's called what's it called? I think it's called Champagne Toast. It's like champagne something. I don't remember. It's been a minute since I've listened to it, but so Rick Ross basically is dissing Drake for having a fake nose and basically him not being black, because if you know Drake, you know he has a white mother and he has a black father. He's basically biracial. Shout out to Logic. And yeah, that's basically the whole gist of it. And actually, as I'm recording this, Kendrick Lamar actually, well, before we get to that, Drake officially dropped Push Ups, I think a week after it got released or got leaked. And basically, Drake and Rick Ross went back and forth, and basically Drake was being petty. He basically posted deep fake Metro Booming post, and basically he was clowning everybody just to be petty. And a week after the first diss track, because he didn't drop just one diss track. No, ladies and gentlemen, he dropped two. Now the second one, I felt like the second one got more buzz than the first one because of what I'm about to explain to you next. So Friday night, Drake basically dropped a diss track on his Instagram. He didn't drop it on streaming platforms. He didn't leak it. I guess you could say he technically leaked it. There was a song that he released called Tailor Made Freestyle, where he basically used an AI Tupac and an AI Snoop Dogg to basically paint the narrative of them basically saying, Kendrick, you have to respond. Basically, Drake is pushing Kendrick to respond, because obviously Tupac is one of the biggest legends in the game, and as well as Snoop Dogg, because they're all legends. And the reason why he didn't, I think the reason why he didn't drop it on streaming platforms, because Taylor Swift dropped that same day. She dropped her album, which I'm not going to talk about here. So Drake dropped the track where he basically used an AI Tupac and an AI Snoop Dogg to basically diss Kendrick, basically saying, oh, you saying you're this big dog, but he was saying that you haven't really done anything about it. And looking back at the track, I felt like Drake was at a point where Drake was petty. Not petty, but I felt like he was strategic. He knew what he was doing the moment he thought, okay, Tupac, Snoop Dogg, LA connection, obviously Kendrick Lamar. And if you listen to Kendrick Lamar, he had a song where, I think from what I read, there was a song on one of the albums, I believe it was Section 80 or Good Kid, Mad City, where Kendrick basically was interviewing Tupac, but basically cutting the infamous interview, into thinking that he was talking to Tupac about what I might have to look up that clip. So yeah, and then it got a lot of buzz, mixed feelings. A lot of people thought, okay, Drake was very strategic for doing that, or Drake was basically disrespectful by using a dead person's voice and using another guy who is not dead and basically taunt Kendrick. So yeah, so Drake basically was like, hey, I'm just gonna just say fuck it. Taylor Swift dropped, but I got Instagram. So he dropped it on Instagram, and I think it was only on for, I would say, about a week or 2 weeks, because it has been a while since it has been a minute since it was on there. And Tupac's family actually, or his estate actually, gave him a cease and desist because of the fact that they used Tupac's voice as a way to diss Kendrick. So after the cease and desist, he basically was forced to take it down. And not only that, Metro Booming and Future basically dropped the part 2 of We Don't Trust You called We Still Don't Trust You, which was basically and then there was a feature on the album by J. Cole. And people were basically speculating like, oh my God, J. Cole siding with Metro and Future. He's, betraying Drake because, they did the tour. They did the Big As The What tour recently. And the reason why I debunked this is because J. Cole actually recorded the song before all this shit even went down. And yeah, that was pretty much it.
This the last song that I wrote on this album because I had too many thoughts inside my mind for the outcome. I'm always overthinking shit that would never let go. So then I wrote it on the spot, let my words stay afloat. Yeah, you'll never catch me slipping, making beats up in the kitchen. All my love is